Let's talk about core values in business. Now, I know you know what core values are in general, but in business, it can be worked out just a little bit differently than your own personal values, though there are some overlaps. Core values are like the soul, the heartbeat of your brand, and can guide a lot of decisions you make throughout your business journey. So, what is the best place to start? Your values, your own values, or if you have not worked on your own values, looking inward to what makes the most sense and what matters the most to you. Without knowing it, your values do mirror within your business and do work within your business, whether you say them outright or not. Because your values drive you and how you operate in the world, it will show up on how your business operates in the world. But in this video, we're going to talk about how to create them from maybe your core values or working through a core value exercise so you can determine what they are. So, a few questions to ask yourself. 1, what principles guide your decisions? What beliefs are non-negotiables in your work? Which aspect of your work are you the most passionate about? So think on those 3 questions. When you're ready, you can pause if you'd like, but when you're ready, I'm going to go to one approach that I love working through is called the love and loathe approach. So you're going to imagine a thermometer. Say the top 10% is what you absolutely love, and the bottom 10% is things that you loathe, that don't vibe with you, that are just you really don't want to deal with or live in. So let's go through them. And in your top 10%, at least 5 to 10, write down qualities or traits, or it could even be experiences that you love, that light you up, that really get your passions flowing. And remember, you want to live in the excitement or alignment or happiness or joy or anything that's in those positive lights. So again, traits, it could be values if you already know some, it could be experiences that you've had or that you've witnessed. And then on the flip side, write down the opposite of those. Things that kind of are pet peeves or things that you witness that you're like, I really wish people weren't like that. Or things that are maybe even deal breakers to you. You can even bring your dating life into this. So maybe you go on a date and you notice that, depending on how your date treats a waitress or a waiter, you're not going to vibe with that person. That is a great thing to add to the bottom 10%. And then if you haven't added that to the top 10%, on the flip side, go ahead and do that as well. So now you have a rough list of things that you vibe with and things that you don't vibe with. Aim for about 5 to 8 of them being core values. So if they're negative things that don't end up on the positive side, just try to flip them over. So for example, if you really hate when people are dishonest, then honesty would be a value of yours. So go ahead and write them all down either as short phrases or words. I'm going to give you a few examples from my own brand, Her Strategic Partner. So some of my core values are collaboration, perspective, inquisitive, determination, and inclusivity. And then when I mention about short phrases, I have some that are technically 2 words or a hyphen, which you can just depend on what you'd like to go with. So my values that are more than a word are solution-oriented, strategic sustainability, and cultivate potential. So those are some of my values. You're welcome to borrow the words if words are kind of hard to come up with. Otherwise, take some time and decide what are your 5 to 8 core values. If you notice, I have 8 values, and then when I am using values in certain places, I just work the top 3 or 5 that tend to work in that scenario, whether it's a job description or even on some website copy or anything like that. On my website, I actually have all 8 of them displayed on my About section. Let's talk about living your values. As I mentioned, there's ways to use it throughout your business and throughout your entrepreneurial journey. So these values aren't just for show, they are your secret sauce to really standing out as you or as your business brand entity, and it really helps drive a lot of different key decisions in your business. For example, vetting contractors and employees, you can have that in your job description, you can have this in your application, you can have this when people are looking you up to see if they want to work with you, but also seeing if the person that you're hiring lines up with at least the majority of your values and are not completely opposite of what your values may be. One example for my business is cultivate potential. I have no problem hiring somebody that is about 70 to 80% of what a job description may say if I post one. I don't have like a caveat there saying that I need 5 years of experience. But if someone is willing to learn, I'm willing to cultivate their potential. And that's very important to me. And I really do recommend looking at your core values when you're hiring. Now, this also means how you choose your clients. So if you have some clients that are breaking boundaries, are running over your non-negotiables, then it's time to reevaluate to see, are they still fitting you as a client, or is it time to walk away from them? In the flip side, in the more positive note, it's also fun to find clients that are very well in line with most of your values. So if you have a value, inquisitiveness, they might also value that they learn how to use certain things, that you learn how to use certain things, that there's a learning environment in general. And it's also fun, for example, with inquisitiveness, when you find a client and both of you are learning about the same thing at the same time, or you're both reading the same books or anything like that. It's very fun to have that alignment happening. Collaborations and partnerships. Now, for me, collaboration or a collaborative approach is one of my values. But when you're looking for collaborations or partnerships, if you're aligning your core values with each other, that partnership will not only have a stronger foundation, or the collaboration will, but it'll also be easier to communicate throughout whenever there's a point of either miscommunication or some tensions happening. There is a foundation that you two have there, that you have similar core values, if not the same core values. So you can always use that as your guiding principle to help with any difficult conversations. Now, your leadership style, depending if you call yourself a leader or not, your leadership style can very well shine with your core values as well. For example, I'll go back again with my cultivate potential. Whenever I'm in a position of leadership, whether it's my team or other people's teams, I bring that value of cultivating potential throughout any team that I'm leading, because even though I'm told maybe that they are able to do X, Y, and Z, if I can see that they can also do A, B, and C with some nurturing, I'm going to help them get there, whether it's me directly or I'm giving them resources. I always joke with love languages saying that my love language is actually resource giving, because I love giving resources, because I want to help everybody thrive in whatever they're doing. Project selection. Now, when you're working with clients, and maybe you're working with a client that is a project basis, having your core values, one or two or a few of them, line up with the projects that you accept will also help guide in decision making. I'm just going to give my example here because I have this interesting relationship with breeders. I very much into the non-breeder world, and I question even reputable breeders, but that's just me. So if there's a project coming on my plate that has to do with promoting a breeder, I know I'm going to have some sort of trouble with it. Now, it's not in my core values, but it is in my personal values. So when you're thinking about projects or even client work, you're going to have to decide that too. Is it rubbing up against one of your personal values rather than the core business value? And if it's something that you keep running into, you may want to turn that into a core value of your business. Another example I would give is inclusivity. So if there is a potential client that I have that seems to be unfortunately discriminatory towards people, any minority group or oppressed group, I may not want to choose to work with them because one of my values is inclusivity. So keeping that in mind again when you're either working with clients retainer base or even just as a project basis. Now, everyday decisions. You can see at this point that it can help you guide everyday decisions, regardless if it's a large decision like hiring or working with the client, or a smaller decision of maybe even deciding to work a half day. And I can give you an example of this. I have chronic illnesses. If you know me, you know I have 2 diagnosed chronic illnesses. And some days I have to take an internal day or a half day, or I have to take a day that I'm not doing meetings just because it helps me. And how this goes into my core values is my strategic sustainability. I'm strategically making the decision to keep my business going sustainably by making sure that I am prioritizing rest when I need to. So you can see how that works out. So even though it's not a giant big decision, in the long run it could be, and in that moment it's a smaller decision in the day that maybe I just need to take 20 minutes to take a break, or I need to take a half day, depending on how big of a break that I think I need. So when you are not just creating these values and putting them out there, but when you're fully aligned with your values and all your decisions, and your decisions are backing up your values, you attract the right clients, you attract the right team members, your team feels connected, you feel connected to your clients, work becomes more meaningful and sometimes even easier. So remember, it's not all about profits, even though a lot of us come into business because we need to make money. And of course, you should be making money in your business, but impact matters too. And how you create those profits and how you create the impact will all be driven by your core values. So dive deep, find what truly matters, and have your core values light up the path of your business. If you're curious how to create your own core values, you can see a linked blog post below, basically all of this in a written format. And if you have any other questions, feel free to comment below and like, share, and subscribe. If you happen to like this content, I'll be making more about core values, mission, vision, all of that in coming videos. Have a good one.